Yo, what's happening, baby? This is the Flaming Sword Musing, and I am Kamseen Khan. I am going to have to do a couple of retakes because I had a few videos up, and for some reason or another, YouTube decided to delete them from my Flaming Sword Unsheathed page. So I'm going to have to retrace a couple of conversations that I had before just to keep them on track. So the first conversation I want to retract is about an article that I read. I'm going to put the link in the description. It was from last year, July 6th. And the topic of the article was from a guy who said that there was a record number of mass shootings in America. And at the time, I was thinking like, wow, cats in this country going crazy. What is the world coming to? And I began to read the article and click all the links that pertain to the cases that they were reporting in the article. And I became kind of startled and disturbed because, and I'm going to preface this with, the understanding that murder is bad, death is bad, all of this stuff is bad. There's nothing really good to be said about killing. Everybody want to be killers nowadays, but my take on it and my mood on it is, we're all gonna die anyways. None of us are gonna live forever. Nothing's gonna last forever. That's law. So where are the points in being a killer? We're all gonna die. There are absolutely 0 points in being a killer. There's nothing but tragedy, strife, and all of that stuff. So death by gunfire, death by violence, and all these things are horrible. But what disturbed me about the article was that, it wasn't, when I think mass shooting, mass shooting is a mass shooting. So when I looked in the article and started looking into all the descriptions, it was a lot of shootouts, drive-bys, things that I classify as, and have always been classified as, multiple shootings, which is a big difference from mass shooting. And the game of it came to me when they kind of slipped into the article that there are no real standards for what a mass shooting is. So my take on it is, how are you gonna say that there were record mass shootings? And all of these quote unquote mass shootings occurred in the hood, at bars, shootouts across the country, and they classify them as mass shootings. And you know what's triggered by the term mass shooting. That's religious, psychopathic, lack of, no particular target, something like that. Cats going to the bar and coming across ops and having a shootout, and people unfortunately become shot or killed behind that, is not a mass shooting. So if there are no real standards for what a mass shooting is, how can you turn around and say that there were a record amount of mass shootings? And as proof of this, you cite things that happen in the ghetto. Bar shootouts, drive-by, regular ignorant shit. Like the situation that occurred in the Deer District. Shameful. Shameful. Very much shameful. I'm ashamed of my city that this shit happened. But according to the non-standards, that's considered a mass shooting. Not a multiple shooting, but a mass shooting. What I want y'all to understand is that, like, a lot of things that, like, whenever something get hot, when they transfer it over to us, it's like the white slavery thing. You know, white slavery was made for the mafia, but it was applied more to the pimps and the pushers out on the streets, or the regular pimps on the street, than it was applied. They created white slavery to battle the mob, but when the law was cinched in, they didn't use it for the mob. They used it for the pimps down on the streets. And then what happened is that, you know, after a while, it's like, okay, cool, cats getting pimping and pandering cases, white slavery cases, and then next thing you know, this sex trafficking thing popped up, you know, and next thing you know, like, regular pimps off the block was starting to be called sex traffickers instead of pimps and panderers. I mean, like, I try to tell my lady, like, when she said, oh man, dude out there sex trafficking, I was like, nah, he pimping. That's not sex trafficking. Sex trafficking is a totally different thing. You know, sex trafficking, human trafficking, we're not even going to talk about, we're not going to strip it down to just sex trafficking, because it's not sex trafficking, it's human trafficking. You know, you can buy a child, you can buy a spouse, you can buy organs. But when human trafficking and sex trafficking became an issue and the laws were put in place, they started applying that to the pimps. Not the human traffickers, the organ traffickers, the child traffickers. They started saying that pimps were human traffickers. Once again, taking a law or a stick and then just turning it on the black community. When Bill Clinton created the Anti-Terrorism and Death Penalty Act, he specifically said that it was for Larry Hoover. Specifically, look it up. Specifically said that it was for the old man. Specifically. You know what I'm saying? If you from Milwaukee, you know, old school 2-7, you know what I'm saying? Mr. Walker, he was the first person to be convicted under the Kingpin Act. Mr. Walker, 2-7, street gang dude. All the mafia dons out there back in that day, all the mafia dons that was out there, you mean to tell me that the first cat that y'all come and get under the Kingpin Act was Mr. Walker? Right now, all the mafia dons out there, all the stuff going on, who they coming after? YSL, O Block. You know what I'm saying? What we need to understand is the game of the situation is that when these laws are made, they're going to use reasons like, oh, the kids, the poor white girls, the this, the that. We need to understand that when we start embracing these terms and saying these terms, that they're laying those terms at our feet. I don't believe that an earnest pimp is a human trafficker. He's not a human trafficker. Nowadays, it's a lot of guys who get off into pimping and they do it in certain ways. They either, you know, pimping dope fiends or young girls and they get caught up in that line and they're able to get charged with human trafficking because you got a fucking runaway with you. Excuse my language. You have a runaway with you. Okay, cool. You get caught up now with human trafficking. Not pimping and pandering. Not white slavery. They're not using those charges anymore now that they have human trafficking. And in the meanwhile, there's real life human trafficking going on. Like I said, you got people out there buying children, You can buy a child right now through the state, through government agencies. You can purchase a child. You can purchase a wife. Like I said, you can purchase organs. We need to understand and defend our right to not be called mass shooters. We're not mass shooters, and we need to defend that. We are not human traffickers. Pimping is not human trafficking, and we need to defend that. We need to defend ourselves against every law that's being created being turned right on the black community before the ink even dries. You know, they use other situations as a scenario. You know, I think about the sexual predator law in Wisconsin where they say like, yo, if we don't feel like you've been treated, we can keep you. And, you know, I was in prison at the time, so it startled me. I was like, what? They say that they're trying to create a law that says that you can keep a person beyond their sentence? And that man, fuck them child molesters, them rapists. Nobody cares about the rapists, the child offenders, you know, the molesters, the tree jumpers. You know, everybody just gave that law a pass. But basically what they did was they gave the government a stick or a precedent that they can use, because now they can like, the sexual predator law is a precedent that can just as easily say, I don't feel like you done robbing. I feel like as soon as you get out, you're gonna start robbing again. We heard you talking over the tier. You said as soon as you get out, you're gonna see about them niggas. We just gonna keep you longer. We don't think that you are rehabilitated. You've been enjoying your bid too much. You've been on the phone cooking and barbecuing. We don't think you got enough out of your bid. We just gonna keep you. We're talking about the prison industrial complex. And for the prison industrial complex, you know, we are the fodder. So whenever you see a law being created about anything or anyone, how you doing, sir? You need to understand that those laws are for us. They're gonna put us in jail. They're gonna use those laws. They're gonna use whatever premise that they want to use to get the law enacted. But once that law is enacted, we are the fodder. They're not gonna send their own children into prison. They're not gonna fabricate laws to put their own people in prison. Because the simple fact of the matter is that their people are the ones making the money. We're not making money. We don't make money for these people. You know, the deals that they make, the moves that they make, the connections and the networking, that is the money. We're just a tool. We're fodder. So, I mean, like I said, this mass shooting thing, this human trafficking thing, like, and even like in the black community, you know, you get a guy caught pimping and they say he's a human trafficker. Even in the community, people are buying this stuff. These code words. I remember George Bush Jr., dumbass George Bush Jr., who's supposed to be so much of a dummy. He said, like, during the anti-terrorism thing, that the goal is to program people by saying certain catchphrases and code words over and over and over and over until it sinks into the head of the constituency. So I really would like for us to stand up for even our criminals. We got to stand up for our criminals too, because ultimately we are not the criminals. We're down here scrapping and scrounging, trying to get it. The ball in this cat, you know, scrapping and scrounging. We are not the criminals. But we allow them to attach so many criminal phrases and criminal ideas to us. Criminal phrases and ideas that really have nothing to do with us. We don't have the power to human traffic. We don't. We don't have the power to human traffic. But you getting cats right now, they getting smacked for 80, 90 years because they got caught with a 15-year-old in their car, or run away, or chick said they got kidnapped, which is usually regular stuff. They young. It really disturbs me that they're trying to attach mass shootings to the black community, because if they can attach the term mass shooting to the community, they will have every example that they need. And then next thing you know, them dudes who running into supermarkets and schools and shit, excuse my language, they're gonna get the passes because there are too many multiple shootings in the hood. So we really need to, be conscious and protect ourselves and from this terminologies and philosophies and all of that stuff, man, because all of these laws are for us. Whatever premise they want to use, all of these laws are for us. Like I said, this is a retake on a conversation on a musing that I did a year ago, and I realized that it was taken off for some reason or another. I think it was profanity, because I got a pretty profane mouth, and I pretty creative with my jargon, but I have a couple of more that I'm gonna put out. I really hope that you guys think about this and get something from this and get some type of understanding about, the game and the goals and what's going on in this world. Be blessings and be blessed. Once again, this is a Flaming Sword musing redo, and I'm Khan saying Khan. One.